What up, people of the world? Welcome back to Knell of St. Godhrkar. We've just worked out how to successfully get onto day 7. It turns out that on day 6, when you're with Raven, if you take the main alley, the main street, and then when you get pulled into the side alley and told to stand still, if you freeze there, he just gets choked to being unconscious. He doesn't get garroted and knifed up and stabbed to death immediately. And then on day 7, if with Chervlet in the morning you choose to climb over the fence around the back, she comes through the house and opens the front door and speaks to the Gwiller brothers and tells them to keep Raven alive for the moment, which should be enough time, which should mean that when Porley gets to the leatherworking shop in a couple of chapters' time, Raven should still be alive. That's what I'm hoping. So now we're just moving on to the Urchin Easternizer chapter, where he gets into a confrontation with the Maximalist after during the riots at the police station, at the train station. Sorry, not the police station. But yeah, we've already read all this. I think this chapter's going to be the same, so we're just going to skip it. Oh, this might be different. Widden Grimm's carelessly sitting on Urchin's table. What about you? Got any plans to go today? Ah, okay. So because he's worked out... So this is different. Because we took the meal ticket and he worked out that the Buckers are supplying food for some reason, he's now going to go to the docks again instead of going to the riots, perhaps. Well, I'm going to the dock again. It's really interesting that the Buckers are supplying food. They're not philanthropists, at least not now, when there's a bunch of Godhrkar and hawking out there. They don't have time for that. I think we can keep up with their supply team and find out who's behind this. Widden frowns and then nods thoughtfully. He glances at the clock on the wall, and it is nearing the time when the dock workers are enjoying their breakfast. You'd better hurry up then.
Hey, Widden.
Come on, Widden, what are you waiting for? Get your stuff ready. Time to go. Huh? Their conversation is interrupted. Widden looks over with a blank look, while his colleague Bowie is standing by the door, buttoning the buckle of his uniform as he stares at them. There's a strike at the train station. Hansel just called from the scene. Chief Pasmore told everyone to go there immediately. How terrible is it? Bowie mutters as he fixes his holster. How terrible is it, Bowie? What's going on? What did Hansel say? What else could it be? The Maximalists making a big fuss, and all the trains had to be stopped. That Godhrkar Marquis is also out there. Now his fellows keep complaining about being lagged behind their schedule. Damn it. Huh? I could have sworn they have done it deliberately. Hansel and others are keeping things in order. That leaves us to find the leader. Of course, not everybody has to go. For those who have urgent cases to deal with, do mind your own case. There's no need to come with us. Bowie snorts. He then puts his police cap on and slams the door. So he was obviously talking about Urchin there. Urchin and Widden look at each other in dismay. What now, Urchin? I'd say I feel the same way as Bowie. Is the strike more important than life-threatening cases? Widden rolls his eyes. Whenever Urchin is saying something along that line with a straight face, Widden never knows whether his partner is actually thinking so, or perhaps it is something that he'd just say in a spur of a moment like a child. He raises his voice as gently and patiently as if explaining to a pupil. This is not that simple. Everything in Italy City will be put off track if the transportation system is being jeopardized for a week, says Widden, who is slipping on his badge and pistol to their respective compartments. This is a serious emergency. If you don't go, they might find an excuse to report on you to Chief Pasmore. But if you want to keep digging into it, go ahead. I can never cover the fact that you're chasing the Maximus with me. Or I can cover the fact that you're chasing the Maximus with me. We're going to continue the pursuit because we didn't do that last time. Then I will count on you for the strike. I want to follow the cue found previously. No problem. Go freely. Widden throws the gun holster and belt over with great glee, and with a smile he goes out the door first. Urchin's body rests against the seat, its surface lean and comfy. All the police signs are removed from the car. If someone walks past the window and notices him, they would just think he's just a slacker. Cool. For Urchin, the car is situated in an alley that gives a good view of the entrance. As the sun slowly raises high into Urchin's car, there is someone approaching when he is considering whether he should leave. The sputtering sound of a car engine intrudes the key, and not far away the dining car stops where it was last night, and down comes a rowdy group of young men, some of which are regulars to the police station, doubtless from the Buckers. Urchin leans against the window to hide his face. These men who are accustomed to robbery and fighting now look like honest workers, and if they could concentrate on working hard, they would not be thugs by the side of the road with their dirty hats. A cheerful assemblage of young individuals, animated and seemingly devoid of conflict, take out various boxes, some carried by two because they're so large. The heat comes out of the open gap. It's fried hominy and hodgepodge pies. Urchin is aghast, though he doesn't know about the taste, but at least the ingredients are plentiful. Maybe? I don't know. Soon the workers begin to gather and form a long line in front of the dining car. They talk loudly, complaining about the weather and the pay. From time to time, some dock worker comes out, applies a bit of brown substance to a wooden pipe and sips on it. With each breakfast taken away, the thugs in the car write something down on a note. Urchin narrows his eyes, noting he forgot to ask Widden for his coffee this morning. His head slips down slowly, and now he's lethargically looking at the entrance to the harbour, through the very top of his eye socket. For the sleep-deprived, the smell of food is as sweet as a good dream. Coffee and pies are handed out, the line is slowly shortened, and after the last breakfast is delivered, the thugs pack up their stools and return to their cars. Urchin is unaware and almost drowsy. His eyes are closed until a sputtering of motor engines enters the vicinity. Drowsily opening his eyelids, he sees the 3 cars' engines revving up, ready to depart. He jumps up in his seat, rests his hands on the steering wheel, and realizing he's resting his hands with no force to it, he blinks and grips it instead. Urchin tightens up. He'd hoped they would all follow each other in a line and go to the same place. The dining car is at the front, and Urchin stalks them with mechanical acuity. They're heading north on the main street, almost crossing the whole illy city. Urchin shakes his head to stay awake and to judge their surroundings. Judge her surroundings? What? Judge his surroundings. This is a block north of Illy, a rich suburb, generally not the most bucker-heavy area. But these cars, with their exhaust pipes pumping, don't mind being out of place and drive straight into the depths. Finally, they swerve off to the left. Not long after, pulled up by the front door of a house, out from the case came 2 young men. He remembers the leader who was in charge of the dinner last night. His sandy hair looks outstanding. And the other one holds the note. They step onto the porch and knock on the door. Out comes a tall man with dark skin. He is well groomed with stiff suit and waxed hair. But strangely, he is more of a bucker than the owner of the house. An air of levity is familiar to Urchin. It seems that, in spite of his location, this man is not in the least worthy of the manners of the place. At this distance, Urchin couldn't hear what they were talking about, but it is nothing more than the running of the charity breakfast. Well, how does he know that if he can't hear what they're talking about? The detective's eyes are already wandering. The dark-skinned man is probably a guard hired by the philanthropist, and the owner is still hiding in this house. His eyes drift to the open window to the second floor, and then he could not take them away. He notices the face of someone in the window. It belongs to an unfathomably beautiful girl, her face seemingly wrapping itself to a more beautiful version of herself with every passing second. It's not of a sexual nature. His admiration is on hyperdrive, but no lewd thoughts erupt. So that's Chevrolet. Why have they come to the Chevrolet, the residence? The white... okay, this is interesting. Meanwhile, the tawny-haired thug is handing the notebook over, which they have recorded at breakfast. Urchin is trying to get a better look. He straightens up, and just then he hears the door open behind him. The sight is suddenly black, and the feel of the fabric makes Urchin realize that it is a sack, and then he notices the uncovering noise around him. It is then he remembers that there are more thugs in the car than the two at the door. That is fucking enough! Damn. He seizes the attacker's wrist by his instinct and tries to reach his gun with his other hand. But Urchin never gets the shot off. The thugs pull their guns back and let go of the hand that has held the detective. Urchin's body shakes and fell onto the driver's seat. Blood oozes from the sack and soon stains his collar. Okay, we got murdered again. Bad end. Poisonous bait. Okay, so apparently investigating the dock workers with Urchin on that day is a bad idea. We didn't make any other decisions, did we? No. No, he just goes straight there, falls asleep, follows them, and then gets murdered.
Eh?
We're going to deal with the strike. Like he did last time, and then I'm also not going to murder the guy. I'm going to arrest him. Oh, ignore that. I think we've read this, but I'll read it just to make sure. Urchin reaches out and seizes Zamoya's shabby coat, but Zamoya clutches the baluster of the staircase and swings back with all his might to free himself and push Urchin off his footing down the staircase. The flaming pain from where his body got burned last night forced Urchin to let go unintentionally. When did his body get burned? I'm not sure what it's talking about that. Burned last night. Last night was when he visited the docks. And then he got a meal ticket. Did he burn his hand when he dropped the soup? Is that what was happening? I don't know. I'm confused. Anyway, Urchin suddenly feels as if he's floating in the air for a little while, followed by a sudden pull of gravity. The second his body makes contact with the rigid stairs, continuous pain on the shoulders, wrists and forehead was the only thing that he can feel. He falls down several flights of stairs and lands straight down onto the bottom. When he finally rises from the bottom of the stairs, Zamoya is long gone, and only the thumping sound of hasty steps came from the cement flooring under the back of his head can be heard. Damn it, stop! No time to investigate the injuries. Using the armrest as support to run after Zamoya, Urchin goes on his full speed. The detective's footsteps dwindle in the depth of the alley. Urchin looks at the surroundings. Paths here extend in all directions. These are low-rise buildings and an abandoned house around. He doesn't think that Zamoya had enough time to escape already, but if Zamoya is planning to hide somewhere, this is the only place he can choose. Urchin tries to push open the rusty gate, but it's not moving. Yeah, we've read this. We're not going to kill Zamoya. We're going to arrest him. We're going to spare him. Urchin sighs and finally puts down his gun. He looks sideways and stares at the ground. Oh, what the hell? I didn't say spare him as in don't arrest him. I meant just don't kill him. Get the hell out of here. There's a skeptical look on Zamoya's face, but it turns into a smile at the next second. Zamoya puts his gun away too and hurries past Urchin. As the two pass one another, Zamoya stands abruptly and pats Urchin on the shoulder. Your mercy will be remembered. Just go, dickhead. Dismiss the strike right now and don't start another chaos, otherwise I am going to change my mind any time. Zamoya lowers his hat and strides out of the warehouse. As the sound of footsteps behind him fades away, Urchin comes out of the building. At the far end of the street, he could see Zamoya's hem disappear from the corner. Perhaps with him dropping his case this morning to search for the station only to release Zamoya, which violates his orders, Urchin no longer clings onto the once old-fashioned principle. Egotistical persistence pales before the fate. Now he is laying down in the waves, drifting into the endless sea. To his back are sufferings, to his front is no shore. His choices are gradually breaking free from his old principles. Maybe one day he himself will also break free. Well, I didn't say to release him. I meant just don't kill him. Arrest him. Oh dear. Okay, well, we'll have to see how that comes back to bite us in the ass in the future. Now we've got Porley's story, which we've read before. Hopefully Raven will be alive this time, though. We can skip all this because we've read it before. Knife fight. We're going to attack Gwler like we did last time. Okay, there we go. This is different now. There's nobody down here. Porley quickly examines the basement. The light from the crack on the floor above is projected into the dark room. He could also see the dust swirling in the scattered light. It's a similar type of setup as the room on the ground floor, but the items decorating the place is rather bizarre. Dried skin and gut strings are displayed on the wood platforms, while the floor is stained with blood, some of which have darkened and the rest even seem fresh. If the shop upstairs is a normal leather shop, then the basement is a slaughterhouse, and the preys are in fact. Porley studies the skin hanging on the wall and the cords of intestines in the pool. Without a doubt, those are of a human body. He can smell the blood. No one knows how many bodies were cut and dismembered here, becoming victims of a series of atrocities. Porley keeps them in their place. He thinks he's had enough observation of the basement. He's ready to leave the slaughterhouse. Before Porley does so, he takes a quick look for the last time. Just then, his eyes fall on the calendar with an order receipt on the wall. It is a perfect ordinary calendar with an ad of a candy store. It is probably a New Year's gift. The endearing pattern on the ad has faded, and the blood stain made it seem somewhat creepy. In the date bar below the calendar, a date has been circled, 5th of December. The writer probably pressed the calendar directly against the wall and wrote this down. The Stella Club. Porley looks at the order receipt again, which is a medical term written on it too, that is too difficult for him to read. He tears up the calendar and puts it into his pocket, as well as the order receipt. He has to figure out the meaning of the word. And Porley knows exactly who to ask. The wooden door of the basement is reassembled back into its place. The last light underneath has left. The basement is submerged back into darkness. Okay, so we got that right. So Raven was in fact not murdered because Chervlet told them to keep him alive by going when we chose to go over the back of the building. So now we've got another Latzariel story and a Raven story. That's interesting. This one comes first, so we're going to do the Latzariel story first. Okay, looks like Latzariel got fired for defending the prostitute. Doormen wanted, must have great attitude and have a strong sense of customer services. You'll be paid well, that includes full accommodations. For more details, please contact the Hotel Newlistan. Before he could finish reading the entire advertisement, Latzariel tears it off and put it into his pocket. He lowers his hat, carries his luggage, rushes into the alley, and heads for the address on the flyer. He had lost his job even before his boss kicked him out of the Rosemary Bar. He should have seen that coming. He challenged the punks in the pub and punched them in their goddamn faces. And when he saw a bunch of people waiting for him in front of the bar next day, it was too late. Didn't help that he probably skipped out on his shift the night before as well to go see the fortune teller. That probably didn't go down well either. What surprised him was that those men from Tulane also arrived in the scene. Before the fight began, Letzeriel sneaked away. He packed his stuff, wrapped all his clothes, some notes and a knife together as he listened to the noise outside the bar. He also snitched some cash from Pasera's bar. Pasera's? Okay, so it must be his nickname. So his owner, he nicked some cash from the owner. He still owed Letzeriel the last month's salary, and Letzeriel's services aren't some charity to share. Fair play. Fair play, bruh. On the ramshackle streets south of the Stalinese River, the Grand Newsleton Hotel stands out. It is located in the commercial street of Thalizak, being occupied by chic celebrities. It is not like those local stores and bars he had visited before, and he is not sure if he have a place to stay, but at least he can try.
Oh yo.
Oh yo! I saw your advertisement. Have you found a doorman yet?
Klar?
I am sorry? I'm here to apply for the job of doorman.
Oh, Sie.
Oh, yes. Our boss would like you to go to the top office and receive the details about your qualifications.
Go away.
Thanks, dude. Go away. This grand hotel is different from other places, Letzeriel murmurs. At first, he thought he could start working right away after having a small talk with the manager. Now he has proven wrong for the first time. He has to meet the big boss in order to get this job. The whole top floor is obviously owned by the hotel owner. As soon as Letzeriel steps out of the elevator, the first room he sees is a guest room. The dark brown door appears to be made of some kind of expensive wood. He knocks on the door carefully.
Risha.
Come in, please. Letzeriel twists the handle of the office door. The decor in the room is more modest than the interior of the hotel, looking like a normal office. He takes off his hat and holds it in his hand, and then salutes. Letzeriel notices that there are 4 security guards standing in the corner, all staring at him. Hello, I'm here to apply for a job as a doorman.
Sorry?
Letzeriel, the Stuyvesh, am I right? Sitting before Letzeriel, a middle-aged man with long black hair and a cigar in his hand is smiling at him.
Ichalai.
Nice to meet you. I'm Murphy Tulane, owner of Newsstand. When Letzeriel hears that name, he freezes subliminally. He takes a step back, but immediately feels the pressure behind him. The 2 bodyguards standing next to the door leave him no place to escape. Uh-oh. Cold sweat drips down his cheek. What's worse, he can hear the door open behind him, and a young red-haired man with an injured face was thrown to the ground. Letzeriel recognizes that man at once. Unlike Yani's wild side from the bar, he is badly wounded and unable to move under the control of one of the bodyguards. I heard there were a couple of Tulane boys who had conflict with other gang members at the Rosemary Bar the day before yesterday. The middle-aged man behind the desk pours the wine into the delicate glass, emptying half of its bottle. He looks at him meaningfully. Letzeriel does not dare to even make eye contact with Yani right now. It would have led to his downfall otherwise. I've heard about that. Well then, as you know, our Tulane are not allowed to fight without my permission, let alone a pretending one. Murphy takes a sip of the wine and gives a playful smile to Yanni. His facial expressions are rather kind, but his eyes are full of disdain and violence. Our dog has been given the punishment he deserves. What about you? Who do you think you are, messing around my place? He glares at Letzeriel, and for a moment the lingering air of death crawls into the young man's heart, choking his throat mercilessly. However, Letzeriel stares back. He looks straight at the leader of Tulane.
Godhrkar.
Who am I? That's why I want to hear from you, Mr. Tulane. Hmm? Since you have found the monastery of Stuishvesh, I'm afraid that all of my information is already placed on your desk. And you used your friend Yaney to start a bar brawl, pretending to be one of the Tulane gang just to attract my attention, so you can use my gang's informational network to find out who you are, am I right? Exactly. Is it? Is that what happened? I'm not sure. I don't think that's quite the truth. There's a gruff whispering from Yaney. Letzeriel straightens his back, staring. He's in the war with Yaney's boss, and he can't risk betting both Yaney's and his lives on a moment of distraction. The killer's aura in Murphy's eyes wanes and is replaced by an intense interest. He stands up. His bodyguards pulls the gun from their holsters. You're a qualified gambler, young man. It's rare to see a guy like you risking his life for his own ends, but unfortunately that's a high price to pay for Tulane's help. Have you considered the odds? That's not my concern. I make a bet and you make the decision. Besides, it's not a loss. I have what you want, otherwise I wouldn't be here, would I? They have all understood that the doorman interview is indeed arranged by Murphy, a young outsider like Letzeriel, who has lost his job, would certainly be looking for a new temporary job nearby. Last night, the newsstand advertisement was plastered all over the recruiting section south of the city, blocking requests from all other stores. Murphy nods and places the gun that he had been pointing straight at Letzeriel on the table. Then come and defend yourself for the bar brawl. One last chance to spare you. Murphy sits back in his chair and fills the glass again. The guards in the room, including Yaney, are staring at Letzeriel. You are wondering if whether the Rosemary Bar is cashing in on the important alcohols by mixing water with them from Tulane or not, Mr. Tulane. As you see, this guy, who is a member of the Tulane gang and a man of refined tastes for alcohol, has been investigating the bar to see for himself, even though it seems like inappropriate for him to do so. Letzeriel notices that Yaney clenches his teeth, yet Yaney's expression remains unchanged. These guys look so similar, they could be twins. Murphy shows no reaction and takes a sip of his wine. However, Letzeriel discovers that wine happens to be the oldest bottle of Livia wine from the storage of Rosemary Bar. This seems like Tulane conducted a thorough search on both the store and its storage unit, which shows that Letzeriel still has some cards up his sleeves. The young man, with his unwavering resolve, loosens up a bit. This seems like Tulane conducted a thorough search on... Yeah, you just said that. What? Oh? That was what you just said. Really? How dare you use my name of Tulane Gang just to start a fight with those punks from nowhere? Look at the results. Isn't that what the Tulane Gang wanted? The fight had shut down the bar, and the Tulane Gang grabbed that chance to look into the problem of alcohol, which could have a significant impact on the reputation of the Tulane Gang more than fighting itself. That's quite a bold move you made, Letzeriel. Is that why you deliberately started the fight in the bar in exchange for a favor from me?
Sorry.
By the way, was involving my men as part of your plan? How many people have you fooled to get what you want?
Oi.
Hey, Letzy, is it true? Did you talk to the little whore on that day just to incite me to fight for you? I see, so it was a natural response for him to defend the prostitute. He's just bluffing now his way out, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Letzeriel presses on his lips and does not dare look at Yaney's eyes, filled full of doubt and resentment. Letzeriel would dare to talk about the business shenanigans, but facing Yaney... Yaney stops asking questions, sinking his head and licking his mouth. As much as I love the way you're trying to please me, I'm sorry that the Tulane people won't exchange favors like this. Paul Murphy pushes a glass aside with his long, thin fingers.
Lino.
We were just suspecting if the bar was adulterated, and there was no clear evidence. Yaney didn't seem to have the sort of taste for the wine, and I was wondering if the bartender could offer us any details. It's true that the wine was adulterated, but the owner of the bar, after knowing that Yaney was a Tulane, provided him with the proper wine. Paul Murphy smiles and shakes his head. It seems like he doesn't take Lazariel seriously. Your playing with the fire is alone enough to kill the owner of your bar. It's hard to trust a ruthless kid like you who uses people as a tool, but of course, unless you can prove it otherwise. For example, last night, Tulane's men rummaged through the bar looking for something they hadn't found all night. Of course, you have it.
Your line, Russ.
Yes, but I have one condition. You don't have the right to negotiate here on Tulane's territory.
Best line.
Even so, I want to know one thing. Like, for example, the accident that happened in 1529. You have a nice taste of ladies. The little girl at the library indeed has a kind heart. Now it is Lazariel who gets frightened, and the shock appears on his face. Murphy enjoys stripping a human of its disguise and dignity. For a frequent outlander between the libraries not trying to hide his tracks, Tulane's eyes could easily find out what he was investigating. Please, Mr. Murphy, I need to know the truth. Fair enough, you need to hand over what we need. Alright, we'll hand over the books, because otherwise we're probably going to get murdered. Lazariel turns slowly, fumbling in his backpack to pull on the ledger. It is from yesterday morning, when he obtained it from his boss's room in a hurry to leave the bar. The ledger has all the details about a navigation on the map of Tulane, and it's actually easy to see how a comparison of the ledger and Tulane's order list can show that the boss has hit on a lot of wine. One of the guards picks up the ledger in his hand and sent it to Murphy and passes it to Murphy. The leader of the Tulane gang flips through a few times and gives a few words to the bodyguard. The man nods and leaves the office with another nearby bodyguard. Paul Murphy then put the ledger back in the drawer behind the wooden table. Just like what I thought. Passeria needs to learn how to hire workers better if he has another chance.
Best line.
I am only a bartender, sir. The business matter is never my domain. Gangsters don't talk about law. How do I know that you won't sell me out when you get out?
Your line, Russ.
You will not be so unconfident, will you? Murphy lights up a cigarette and smiles from the corner of his mouth. That's a cigar, not a cigarette. Paul Murphy loves the quick thinking and the gambling spirit that Lazariel has demonstrated in the exchange. Fine, about what you were looking for. More than 10 years ago, I was just a punk working for Lumiere, the old gambler. I probably won't remember much about that. Back then, he was in the southeast. Other gangs were in the north. Lumiere was expanding his business, and he couldn't wait to take over the north side of town, and the fire in April gave him an opportunity.
Chloe?
A fire? What kind of fire?
Artheoctolian.
Who could tell? It somehow burned down a lot of houses, and there were still a few unrecovered and abandoned. Many people had died. You're looking in the wrong place, son. You should try your luck at the Verithasis Order, probably because they had their own members among the dead, and they were in charge of the cleanup.
Lino.
That is all I know. Verithasis. Why would the Verithasis Order be there in the first place? Lazariel munches on the word, recalling the woman he had met yesterday outside the house of Verena. He had a foreboding hunch, as if there were some great conspiracy to hold everything in place, and he was unwitting insect who could be caught by fate at any moment. A scholar from the Order, could that be his parent, or who died long ago and caused him being sent far abroad? He would be the descendant of scholars, not unwanted bastard or mongrel from Promland. Those words fill Lazariel's heart like warm light. He grasps the hope, as if he has at last caught up with his distant and faded parents. But anyway, he has a new lead, and that's more important than anything else.
Go, Sion.
Thank you so much. Letzeriel bows his head and thanks Murphy again, and Yaney beside him could not help feeling so relieved. But Yaney shakes his hand as Letzeriel comes to him and tries to get him up. Why would he shake his hand? I think it meant knocked his hand away. Go away. Don't be mad now, let's get out of here first. Despite Yaney's wishes, Letzeriel picks Yaney up. But just as they are getting ready to leave the office, 2 bodyguards in the room step forward and block the door with their bodies. Letzeriel returns with a cold sweat and Murphy sits at his desk smiling. His gentle smile reminded Letzeriel of the first meeting of the doorman interview. You said you never expect to leave the house completely. Oh, really? I forgot about it. Despite the hollow whispers of Letzeriel, who turns his head stiffly, the way out is blocked, and 2 tall bodyguards approach him, casting a shadow that envelops him. Wait, let's talk. I'll give it to you. Whoa. Oh dear. Hearing the screams of the 2 young men, Murphy turns his back and made a phone call to the employee downstairs. I'm done with the interview and keep the advertisement. We still need a doorman. So I guess Letzeriel got beat up there. That was a very confusing scene. The English in it was very broken and disjointed. But from what I can understand, what I can tell is the bar that the bar that Letzeriel was working in was watering down their alcohol in order to earn more money. And then Letzeriel either set up that fight with the prostitute or simply intervened naturally and then used it as a cover story when talking to the leader, the leader of the gang, whatever his name is. Let's look at... No. Oh, what I'm looking for are these guys. Character network. Oh, bloody hell, there's so many I can't find where he is. Is it this guy? No. This guy, Murphy Tulane. So when he was having a conversation with Murphy Tulane, who he didn't expect to run into, he pretended that he'd set up the fight with the prostitute just to get his attention. And then in getting his attention, he presented the book that showed all the alcohol that was being watered down at the bar. So basically he swapped information to get information from him. Now it's hard to tell whether Letzeriel actually did that intentionally or if he's just a really good bluffer and was just bluffing his way out of a bad situation. But I think he got beat up there at the end by the bodyguards. Anyway, we'll have to find out what the situation is on the next Letzeriel story is. The next story we're going to do is Raven Windshaw, and then we've got Hakano. We haven't heard from Hakano in a while, so that'll be interesting. But guys, we've only got about 15-20 minutes before the hour is up, and I don't want to overrun it by doing a new chapter. So I'm going to end the episode here and pick up the next chapter when we start in the next episode. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching the stream, guys. I do hugely appreciate it. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed playing. This is getting really good. I'm getting excited by this. It's quite interesting. Hopefully I will see you in the next episode. I produce content every single day, so peace out till next time.